Hey guys, welcome back to a video. In today's video, we're gonna be learning about inheritance. So before going into the video, I would appreciate you guys liking and subscribing the video and feel free to comment. So let's go into the topic. So first, before going into inheritance, we have to learn certain topics. So the certain topics are OOPS concepts and also classes and objects. So without them, you cannot understand what these inheritance and what am I saying or what the code even I'm writing. So we have to learn this concept, and if you want to learn in my tutorial, you can go check it out. And I upload a lot of Python videos, so if you want, you can check it out too. And now let's go into inheritance. So first, let's see what the definition of inheritance is. So the definition of inheritance is basically a child class acquiring the properties of the parent class. So what does this mean is, like, let's take a real life example. So let's say you're the child and you're getting or acquiring the properties from your parents. So that's kind of like the real life example using inheritance. And now let's see an example using in Python. So first we have to create a class. I'm gonna name it A, and since I don't have any code, I'm gonna use the pass statement. If you have the code, you can write it. If you don't have to. And I have a pass statement for B too. And as you see, it's not gonna print us anything. And now let's see what actually is happening. Here actually no inheritance is happening, right? Because they're two different classes, right? Like they're no inheriting and everything. So to inherit, you have to copy or write the name inside this parentheses. So now I'm inheriting over here. As you see, B is acquiring the properties of A. So basically A is the parent, and then this B is the child class. So that's what actually this is. So now we understand this. Now let's go to pretty advanced kind of thing. So let's learn about the types of inheritance. So there are three types of inheritance: single level, multi-level, and multiple inheritance. So these three types are very important in Python, and this is where most of the interview questions arise and come. So we have to be pretty confident with them. So first, let's see what a single level inheritance is. So single level is basically nothing but what we did over here. As you see, class B is copying the properties or getting the properties of A. So that's an example of single level. But this time we're gonna use something like employee kind of thing. So first we're gonna name a class called employee, and then we're gonna have some or parameters in it, or even you can say arguments. And then I have the self parameter, have name and ID, and then I have to use them. Self dot name equals name, and then self dot ID equals ID. So we have our parameters over here, and now we just created our class of the parent class. And now we have to create the child class. So I can just name it as employee details, because it's gonna print us the details. So it just gets all these parameters over there and then prints us the details. And we have to remember to even write the inherited. So I'm gonna write employee right there, and now we can just write our arguments. So most of the people think whenever we write this, it's gonna copy or just like get all these things inside this. But no, we have to like import it. What I mean by import is kind of like you have to create a new init and then have your arguments in it. Self and have name and also ID, because these are the arguments which we have. So if you have something like number, you have to write number in that too. And then we just have to use it. So first self dot, we have to write self dot name equals name and self dot id equals id. So yeah, so let's say I have number and everything, and now this is going to become a lot harder. So first, instead to avoid it, you have to learn in my oops concept, which I explained something called super, or even you can use this employee kind of thing. So we're gonna be learning about that now. So basically what you can do is you can have the employee right there, dot init, and you have to use init right there and have the parameters in it. So what do you want to import kind of thing, name and ID. So that's what I want to do in this. And as you see, these turn this color. So if I remove this part, it's gonna turn in a different color. As you see, they both are in a different color. So whenever I use them, it's gonna be in that color. So now we understand what these employee details are. And now we just can use super too. So you just have to write super followed by the parentheses and do not include the self parameter. So for super, it doesn't have the self parameter. But for now, I'm gonna use the employee because I like a lot, and that's gonna be so a lot easier, I'd say. And now we have to have the print statement in this. Let's take print self. So it's basically referring to this class, and then we're gonna print self dot name and also self dot id. So these both are we are gonna print. And now we just have to have our objects. So employee, which is basically my object over there, and then I'm gonna access employee details. So access that, and then I have to pass. So I'm gonna pass John, which is gonna have, like, let's say a random number 90. I don't know what am I typing, so these are the numbers which I have. And now I just have to access the print statement, employee dot print. And if you don't want to do that, you can just use the str method, which I said in my classes and objects. So anything works, anything is fine until you write the code correct. As you see, we're printing the name and the ID. You can switch it up and make ID and the name too. So anything works. And now we understand what is single level inheritance. So basically we have this level and this level, just two levels. So basically this is a parent, this is a child, that's it. So that's it for single level. And now let me delete that, and now let's see what is multi-level inheritance. So the name itself says kind of like the opposite of single level. And now let's see an example using multi-level. So before going into the example, what we have to learn about multi-level, what we have to learn is, like, it should have 3 or more classes that inherit. So that's what we want in this. So our main goal, it should have 3 or more classes and it have to inherit. So this time I'm gonna use the same class, which is employee, but this time I'm gonna do it a bit different. I'm gonna use this is gonna do the employee name, just the employee name, and then this is gonna have the employee. Let's take the name only, and then we're gonna write self dot name equals name. So that's what we want in this, and then we are done with the parent class, and then this should inherit the parent class employee ID. So this is gonna get the ID and have to inherit employee name. As we inherit, we have to write the init function too. Init, and gonna have the parameters. As you see, already when I clicked enter, it already took for me. So if it doesn't, depending on the program you use, it works. So I'm using, it already gave me super, so I also need the ID over there. So I just add ID and add self.id equals ID. That's it. We have our intermediate class, which is basically, I'm gonna say an example for that too, class, and this is our child class, which is gonna print the employee details. And then we just have to use this one, employee ID, and I'm just using that, and then have the init function, which is gonna say do the init thing. As you see, it already took for me, so I'm done with this part. Employee details is done for me, and I have to print this. So first I have to write the print statement, have the self parameter, or which is referring to the class, and then I have to write the code. Self.name, so I just want to print self.name, and I just want to print self.id. So that's what I want to print in this. And now I have to make a object employee. Let's take employee right there. So first I want to print the employee details, which is gonna have John, and then we have to get their numbers 90. I don't know what numbers. If you want to read, you can. And then employee, we just have to access the print statement. So if you check our code, let me explain what is happening over here. So there's a main class, which we have the name in it, and there's the ID class, which is inheriting the name class, and we are also having the name and ID in this one too. And now we are using this class, which is basically employee details, which is gonna inherit employee ID and gonna get the name and the ID. So how is this multi-level? It's kind of like single level, right? As I said, we have to have 3 or more classes which are inheriting each other. As you see, let's take kind of like real life example. So this is a grandfather. So this is a grandfather, and this is the father, and then this is the child. So this is the child. So this is how it goes from grandfather is it father is inheriting his grandfather, and child is inheriting his father. So that's an example. And now here we are basically using the print statement to print them. And now if I run this code, it's gonna print us John and, as you see, the ID. So single and multi-level works. Let's take another example, which is basically the last topic, called multiple inheritance. So multiple inheritance have nothing but similar to multi-level inheritance, but a lot different. So we have multiple inheritance over here. So first, the word itself says multiple. It's not multiple level because it's not gonna have levels, but it's kind of like having levels too. Well, you're gonna understand what I mean by it. First, we have to have our employee name, as usual, and then I spelled it wrong right there. So, and then I'm gonna use the init function, def and have the init, and then oh, I don't know what it did, so I have to write this again, and gonna have my name in there, and then self dot name equals name. I just have to write this to self, and then we are done with employee name. So till now we understand, and now we have to use the employee details. So this employee, let's say not details, but this time we have to even use the ID. So I'm gonna not inherit this one because that's what it had to do for us. And now definition, which is def and init, and we have to have the ID in this. I just keep clicking enter and that thing comes, so I should practice to not, and then have ID in there. As you see, we have our name and ID. Now coming to our child class kind of thing, and this is gonna have the employee. Let's take the details. So till now it's kind of same, but except you're not inheriting over here, so that's just the difference. And this time, this is what we gotta do. We have to use this name over there, and also keep in this one. So till now we understand, okay, we understand till here, but we also have to just inherit that one, and also we have to inherit employee ID, because that's what we have to do over there. And now we can do a normal. So basically I'm inheriting these both, name and also the ID, into employee details. So let me write the code for now. Definition def and have init and then have self name, and also not to mention even ID. Instead of using super, because in these kind of things it's kind of hard to understand, so I'm just gonna write employee name, because I have a lot of these and super is not gonna make that sense. So to make it sense, I'm gonna use employee ID for now, and then I'm gonna use the init function again, which is gonna have the ID. And remember, we're not using super, so we have to use the self in it. So that's a good thing about super, you don't even have to use self, so it's kind of like time saving. And now it's gonna work, but we're not printing anywhere, so we have to make a new thing called print, and then have to have the self parameter, and we have to print this. So let's format the string for now. So it's gonna print a self dot, let's take self dot name is the name, so that's what it's gonna print. And the ID is, it's gonna print us the ID. So basically it's gonna give us the name is the name, and the ID is the self.id. So that depends on what we give. And now we have to create a variable saying employee, and then have to access the employee details because we just want to see if it worked or not. And then we have to pass John, or you can pass any name. I'm just gonna pass John, and then have 903 or these numbers which I typed, and then employee. We have to use the employee, and we have to access the dot, and let's access the print statement. As you see, I'm accessing it right now, so let's check the code if it works or not. So what do you guys think? So if I run this, it should work. As you see, John is the name and the ID is this ID. So what is the difference between multiple level and multiple inheritance? So the basic difference is these both are not inheriting, so you can have a lot of these and you can put in there. So multi-level is kind of like a level, so there's a first level, second level, third level kind of thing, but multiple is just gonna have multiple, like it's gonna have two parent, or it depends on what you have or what you perceive it. So that's how it depends. So this is my employee name, employee ID. I'm inheriting in this, and I'm gonna access it. So we understand what is multiple inheritance. So that's it for today's video. See you in the next video. Until then, bye bye.